it's harder and harder to work out whether you're a nice person anymore. Life will sometimes give you a kick in the arse, you know? I remember last year my wife booked us a weekend in Venice. Absolutely beautiful, stunning. I mean, boring, but beautiful. Venice, I mean. And we were, hey, come on. Hey, you're better than that, come on. We were wandering through the Piazza San Marco, the centre of Venice, on all the postcards, hand in hand, having a lovely romantic time. There's thousands of years' worth of architecture and artwork, and the sun is beaming down, and people are having a beautiful time. And I'm like a helpful bloke, annoyingly so. You know, if you need a help with a buggy up some steps, luggage down some steps, a lift door leaving open, I'm your guy, I'm always there. And as I'm walking through the centre of Venice, I spot, through the crowd, an Indian family, about 6 or 7, and there's another Indian fella, and he's taking a picture in front of a beautiful bit of architecture. So I just see some people in need, so I have a little wander over. I said, excuse me, mate, excuse me. I said, do you want to take a picture of all of you together? And he said, what? Quite rudely, and I was taken aback. I said, do you want to take a picture of you and your family all together? And he said, and I'll never forget it, he said, that's not my family. He said, I was just walking past and he asked me to take a photo for him. I was like, how's this happened, eh? I was trying to be nice and now I'm a racist? In the end, I confessed it to my friend, Steve. I said, I need to get this off my chest. He said, oh, good. I'm glad you told me that, mate, because something happened to me recently and I've not been able to tell anybody. I said, well, tell me, and then I'll tell it on telly. So this is what happened to my mate Steve. Steve lives in South Manchester, a very multicultural area, the sort of place you can't get through the day without respecting people's viewpoints and beliefs in things. It's one of the things that makes it a special place to live. And he's gone to use a cash machine. And when he gets there, there is a man already using the cash machine. 6 foot behind the man, so quite the distance, there is a woman waiting a turn. So Steve comes over, he's not exactly sure what's going on, because that's quite a distance for a queue. So he just says to the lady, excuse me, are you in the queue for the cash machine? And she answers very politely as well. She says, I am, yes. She says, I'm Nigerian, and my religious beliefs are that because I don't know this man and I'm unmarried and we're not related, this is the distance that I feel safe and respectful to what I believe in. So because Steve's a very thoughtful person, he then stands 6 foot away from her. I mean, that's a 12-foot 3-person queue out of nowhere. Your man gets his money and he wanders off. The woman moves to the machine to do her money business. Steve then occupies the space that she was formerly in, still adhering to this 6-foot rule. A couple of seconds pass and another man comes over. He doesn't know what's going on with this queuing system. So he says to Steve, excuse me, mate, you in the queue for the cash machine? And Steve goes to explain, but he is not loaded with all the information. And these are the words that come out of his face. I am, yeah, but I'm standing here because she's Nigerian. Even when you're trying to be nice, man. It's a bloody minefield out there. Every one of us in this room is generally politically correct by default. That's just being polite and being nice and not saying words that you think might upset somebody. But it's been ruined in the last 15 years or so by pricks on the right and knobheads on the left. It has. And when I say left and right, I don't mean us. I don't mean us. None of us in here are all the way on the right or all the way on the left, because those people do not come to comedy gigs. Because they ain't fun. These minority of people, all the way on the left and all the way on the right, are the ones spoiling things for the rest of us just trying to get through life, upsetting as few people as possible. That's all we're trying to do, you know? And if we're honest with ourselves, we're all a little bit in the middle. We're sometimes a bit left, we're sometimes a bit right, just depending on the issue and how it affects us. You know, you might be a bit lefty liberal. I feel like I'm a bit lefty liberal sometimes, you know, and I'll say things like, you know, I just think prisons should be used to rehabilitate prisoners so then one day they can give something back to society. And then your house gets robbed and you're like, fucking hang 'em. That's just being a human being, mate. I'm talking about the people all the way on the right giving it, they're coming over here, stealing our jobs, claiming our benefits. What, both of those things? And you've got the people all the way on the left, these bloody fun sponges. Finding offence everywhere you go, even in humour. Knock, knock, what about homeless people? They've not got a door. Forget it. Let me tell you now, it's not a cool thing to say, but political correctness works. Sometimes you've got to make a decision. You've got to make a decision on which way you're going to go with political correctness, certainly when it reaches factual correctness. That's when I think, hang on a minute, where am I going to go here? And for me, I go with facts, because facts ain't changing, you know? For example, at my kids' primary school, they celebrate everything, all the international days of whatnot, Pride and the festivals from all over the world, but their favourite day of the year is September the 19th, which I'm sure I don't need to tell you lot, is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yeah, it's a proper day. They dress up as little Jack Sparrows, it's 50p for a local charity, it's adorable. Now, I know you're itching to do it, so after 3, I want your best pirate accent, okay? 1, 2, 3. That is where your brain goes to when someone says do a pirate accent. Of course it is. That is the most famous noise that a pirate makes. But my brain doesn't always work like everybody else's, and I love documentaries and I love stats and statistics. And so I know, for example, that approximately 83% of modern-day pirates are actually from the west coast of Africa or Somalia. I mean, it leaves me in a terrible quandary every September the 19th. Every 20th of September, I'm called into the head teacher's office. Because my kids have just been wandering around school just giving it shiver my timbers. I'm like, well, that's how pirates sound now. They're just factually correct pirates, miss. It's not my fault the world's moved on. I will make you walk the plank. Guys, you've made your point. This is for home, not for out. If anything, your R is offensive to the people of Cornwall. They've moved on. So now you know next time someone says do a pirate action, you can come straight back at them. Yo, ho, 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 and a bottle of rum. That is how modern-day pirate talks. I've done that joke for quite a while now on tour, and sometimes when I've tried to do it on telly, they've gone, oh, what if people complain? That presumes that I wouldn't care if somebody was upset or offended by something that I said. And genuinely, I would be. I'm not one of those comics who likes to offend people. And don't get me wrong, I've got mates who do that, Jimmy Carr and Jim Jeffries and Frankie Boyle, and, you know, they get away with that sort of stuff because they don't have a soul, you know. They know where they're going at the end, and they've made peace with it, you know. But for me, you know, I've been doing that joke on tour. We spoke to over 400,000 people. Not once have I ever got to the end of a gig, got to stage door or a local bar, and there's been like a pirate there. You know, just all upset, crying his eye out. I think we're doing all right, you know. Bloody common sense. I'm going to tell you something now that I'm deeply embarrassed about, but I feel like we're pals, so look. I do a lot of driving. That's not an excuse, but that's the reason. I do a lot of driving, and a couple of years ago, I ended up doing a speed awareness course. I know. No, you're right. It's a silly thing for me to have done. Speed awareness courses, give us a cheer if you've done one. Weird thing about speed awareness courses, for the people who do not know about speed awareness courses, there are 25 minutes of really interesting, important, life-saving advice, and that is spread over 4 hours. Now, I was lucky. I ended up sat next to a fella called Jeff. Jeff was from Glasgow. They don't have speed awareness courses in Scotland for whatever reason. And he'd sped up near Carlisle way, and his nearest, soonest course was Manchester. So down he came, and he was sat next to me. And it happens that he came down with his wife, and his wife went to spend the day at the Trafford Centre, the huge shopping centre on the outskirts of Manchester, and she went to spend the day there, and he was sat next to me. He was sort of mid-70s, and it became quickly apparent that he didn't realise the course was 4 hours long. Because when he was giving this information, he went white as a sheet. I said, "Are you all right, mate?" He said, "I didn't know it was 4 hours long, but..." I said, "Yeah, 4 hours." He went, "Oh, no. I said, "Why, what's wrong?" He said, "My wife's at the shopping centre. It'd have been cheaper to pay the fine." Oh, he was livid. Jeff became one of my favourite people, right? 25 minutes into the course, the guy leading the class says to us, when you're driving on an A road, road signs are green. When you're driving on a motorway, road signs are blue. And that's how you know the difference between those two very busy, very dangerous roads. Jeff piped up, nobody asked him to. He says, that's right, pal, and if they're grey, that means you're going the wrong way. He wasn't even joking. He was just genuinely offering advice to the... I learned that the hard way, guys. My favourite moment was at the end of the lesson. It's 5 o'clock. Jackets are being put on. Wallets, keys, phones being collected, put in pockets, and we're heading out the door single file. The guy stops Jeff just as he's leaving. Have you got to get back to Glasgow now, Jeff? He says, aye, mate, that's right. He said, what's that for Manchester, about 4.5 hours? He said, I'll do it in 2. You've not learned to bloody thing.